Okay, fitness. Weight-bearing activities. A lot of you do some weight training. Do you belong to gyms, some of you? Yep. The other thing that resistance training does that's really important, especially as we age, is it builds your bone mass. So it makes your bones much stronger. Stages of training. If you go to the gym, they usually don't tell you about balance and stability because it doesn't really feel like you're working out that much. Is that right? But balance and stability is very, very important. There are some exercises that you can do, just toe touches where you balance on one leg and touch one toe. That works your core, and it doesn't look hard, but it is. All the way through strength training, hypertrophy, and power. Hypertrophy is where you're building muscle. So if you're working with somebody, you want to start in this order. You don't start working out crazy with weights because you need a strong core, a strong foundation first. It would kind of be like building, a cement castle on sand. You don't add muscle to a structure that's not strong yet. So that's why that's important to do that. Brandon, do you do balance training for your sports? You do baseball and what else? Football, yeah. So did you start here? Do they incorporate that? And then they build you up, because they want you to get to the power phase. So how many, you all watching the Olympics? The Olympics is pretty amazing. Have you seen the hurdlers, the female hurdle, track and field? They are powerful, and they are powerful because they have a lot of muscle. They are, it's power, it's not endurance. If you look at athletes, and their frames are very much not for aesthetics. They're beautiful, of course, but they're really built for performance. And if you look at, say, for example, a long distance runner, they're very, very tall and lean, and it's because they are constantly running. They're actually burning their muscles out. If you go long distances and you're at a very high heart rate, you're not going to build muscle. You're going to be designed to be doing something else. Versus people who are doing power, you have a lot of muscle, it's short bursts of energy, it's not endurance, it's very short, and those people actually build a lot of muscle, they keep the muscle, and they need that for that particular type of activity. Now for the everyday person, we're not that person. We're not in the Olympics. It'd be nice to dream about it. But really we want to be a strong core, nice and stable and strong, so we don't slip and fall. Usually what happens as we get older, there are a lot of people who actually fall and break their hip. And the research has shown that they actually break their hip first, and then they fall. And it's because of osteoporosis, poor bone health, that kind of thing. But if you have a strong skeletal structure, you do resistance training, you can avoid that. And then some balance training. And my father is in his 80s, and he had some accidents where he started falling a little bit. And within 2 months, literally 8 weeks, with a little bit of training, a couple of days a week, he became much stronger so that when he had double knee surgery, he recovered so quickly. His doctors were so impressed. So it can happen at any age. It doesn't matter whether you're 30, 40, 80, 100. There are things that you can do. And rather than look at what you can't do, because I know we all have certain limitations, just focus on the things that you can. A lot of it is mindset and being positive and feeling like you can accomplish this. It's actually huge. So I call this train to retain. Retain your muscle, okay? How many of you do interval training? Any of you? Yes? One? Do many of you know what that is? You do? Okay. So this is one of the most efficient ways for you to retain muscle, get a workout in 30 minutes, and get your cardio in as well. And there are different heart rate zones, and it's all based on your age. So you never want to go really high heart rate based on your age. There's a formula for it, and that is you take 220 and you subtract your age. So here, 220 minus 50 gives you 170. And here are the different heart rates. So that's zone 1, 2, and 3. You've probably seen on exercise equipment, zone 1, heart rate zone 2. We don't always know what that means. But faster is not always best. If you stay in these two zones where your heart rate is no more than about 85% of your maximum heart rate, which your heart rate should be for your particular age, you're going to retain your muscle. This requires oxygen, aerobics, and this zone 3 that means that your muscles don't have enough oxygen, okay? So actually to retain your muscle, you want to stay in these levels here. So say for example, you could be doing anything. You could be on an elliptical, you could be walking, you could be riding a bicycle, stationary bike, or a bike out in the mountains, whatever. And you want to stay 5 minutes, zone 1, that's just your warm-up. Your heart rate, 65% of max, that's kind of like, you can talk really easily, it feels pretty easy. It's not very difficult to do. That's zone 1, that's where you're warming up. Then you can crank it up, go 2 minutes in zone 2, okay? And that is, you're feeling like it's probably hard to hold a conversation. You ever do that? You're going up a hill, walking with a friend or whatever, a little hard to talk. You're most likely in zone 2. Zone 3, if you're here, you're probably ready to feel really nauseated and sick. That's overexertion if you're going over 90%, okay? So what we want to do is, shock your body, be here, but only for 1 minute. And what that does is that really challenges your body. It keeps you functioning and working out and burning fat versus burning muscle, but you're still getting a really, really efficient workout. You could be running around the track and just do a burst of energy for 1 minute, slow it down for a couple of minutes. You'll feel your heart rate come down, okay? This is just something we can all do. It doesn't need to be completely structured like this, but that's the general idea. You don't have to wear a heart rate monitor. You'll have a sense of how you feel. Does that all make sense? Yes? Okay. So when it comes to training also, body type, there's ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. And we're all, some of us can fall into certain categories. It's not necessarily about weight, but it's about bone structure. Like an endomorph will have a very large ankle circumference, like 11 inches or above. That person's going to have a lot more muscle on their frame already. And the reason this is important is that the different body types build muscle differently. What one person needs to train for is going to be very different than what another person needs to do and train for, in terms of their calories, in terms of the type of training that they do. The ectomorph, you've probably seen tall, lanky people. They have trouble gaining weight. What a problem. Don't we wish, right? These people are usually a little bit rounded shoulders. They have very delicate builds. If they were to put on muscle, it's harder for them to retain it. If they weren't continually weight training and eating high quality food and the right amount of food, they would quickly lose that muscle. Then we have the mesomorph. That's more of a medium framed person. That actually went to a little two more. There we go. Okay, so the endomorph is on the higher end. This person usually gains muscle easily, but they also can gain fat fairly easily too. And then the mesomorph, this is somewhere in the middle. This is a more athletic person. They have very good posture. They have good control of their weight, their gain or their loss, and they can build muscle fairly quickly. And we're all actually can be combinations of that. It kind of depends. You can tell if you're a small bone person if you put your hand around your wrist and if it overlaps or not. Okay. I have some clients of mine that, when it comes to weight loss, they are thinking, I need to be down at 130 pounds. And I'll look at them and they think they have 100 pounds to lose, but they really don't. And the reality is it's because they're the mesomorphs or the endomorphs. They're bigger bone structures. So they have a lot of muscle on their frame. They might have 150 pounds of muscle. So there's no way that they would be healthy at 130 pounds, right? So it helps us adjust our expectations if we know what body type we have, and then we'll know how to train. So when we train to boost our metabolism to gain muscle, the endomorphs are the larger boned people. And mostly they just need to move. They need to burn calories and move. They already have muscle mass. It's good to do strength training for those people just so they maintain it. Because if you don't lose it, you can use it. And you need to keep your calories at the right amount so that, again, if we are depriving ourselves of calories and it's too restrictive, then we'll lose muscle as well as the fat. And we just want to lose the fat, and that's it. Mesomorphs, that's kind of more the medium frame person. They have a naturally fit body type. They can strength train for longer durations, okay? You can do moderate to heavy weights, those types of people, and you don't have to have a lot of rest in between each set. Whereas somebody who is smaller boned, for example, if you put them on that same weight training program, that same resistance training program, if you said lift all this heavy weight and go, 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 and no rest between sets, that person doesn't have the stature to sustain that. Valerie, you told me a story yesterday. She played softball in high school, and you were 95 pounds, right? She was very tiny, very, very petite. And, you know, she's just one of these people that it's a little harder to put on mass. She'd have to really increase her calories and really weight train to do that. And it would take a lot of work for her to do that. She's still a very petite person years later. Whereas a person who is more, you know, larger boned or medium boned, they're just going to actually just naturally add it much more quickly. So are there any questions about training or quality of food or anything like that as far as building muscle?
Training.
Yes.
To increase and do the different things. How long should you work out? Is there a certain amount of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, before you really feel like you need to work out?
Yeah, I think, you know, for interval training, you can train for 30 minutes and that's perfectly fine. The point is that you're exerting yourself and you're manipulating your heart rate from low to high and back down again. You get a much better workout than if you train for an hour on a treadmill or a Stairmaster or whatever consistently. So for that hour, because your body gets used to it. Your body goes into, what is that called? It's something, adaptation, right? Your body adapts. So say you're on a treadmill for a long time, you're used to it. You're not really, you know, your neuromuscular connections are all there. Your body knows what it's doing. You're not really having to think about it. And you're not going to burn the calories like if you did this for 6 months straight. You know, every 8 weeks you need to change up your routine. And then your body's going to respond, okay? So 30 minutes of interval training is just fine. Anymore, so say you trained for, say you went on a run and you ran for an hour and then you decided you were going to do another 45 minutes of something, your blood sugar, because you burned so many calories, would drop. And you would actually need to replenish in between, right? To actually retain your muscle. So a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate, a little bit of healthy fat in between. Yes. So any other questions? That's a great question. Valerie's asking how much protein should you have every day. That's dependent upon your body size, of course. And the amount of protein, there's a formula for it. So if you are an everyday average person, the actual formula is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you have to actually go and translate your body. Kelly's from Europe. You would probably know kilograms of body weight. Do you know I think it's 0.45. If you take your number of pounds and multiply it by 0.453, that will give you kilograms. Is that close? 2.2 pounds to a kilo. Okay.
I know that the other way around.
Yes, okay, great. So if you have 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, so my body weight would be about 60 kilograms, roughly. I would need 0.8, so probably about 55 or so grams of protein a day, okay? You can have too much protein, and that's not good for you either. A lot of these high protein diets that you're put on, what happens is your body doesn't need all that protein, and it actually puts a burden on your liver and your kidneys. You start turning that extra protein into ammonia in your body, which is very toxic, and then you have to excrete that, okay, through urine. And it's definitely not a healthy thing to do. It just puts way too much of a strain on it.